Hello, it's Scott Manley here. Now, on my way back from Idaho, I made a little excursion to the Hill Aerospace Museum. It's literally on the highway, and I'm here. I am surrounded by planes of all eras. We've got, turboprops, we've got jets, and I have a B-1 Lancer, right behind me here. If anybody plays Star Citizen and they think of the Retaliator, this is pretty much the Earth-based version of that, right? This is the thing that inspired the Retaliator in Star Citizen. So yeah, I'm going to take a look around and we'll maybe talk about some of the exhibits. I'm giddy with excitement here because this is an SR-71C Blackbird. This is like the fastest plane ever built. Okay, there are faster planes. The X-15 went way faster, but this one can go faster, longer than any other planes. It was a reconnaissance plane with two massive engines that would pretty much run on full afterburner throughout the flight. It had a pilot and a co-pilot. The pilot would fly the plane, the co-pilot would be the reconnaissance officer that would be working with cameras. Most of it is a huge fuel tank. It had these amazing J58 turbojet engines, which the air intake had a complicated analog computer in it that would move the intake spike in and out to adjust how much air came in. But not only that, on the side of it, you would have air vents to let air out, because when you were traveling at super fast speed, you could actually feed too much air into the engine, which could of course cause bad things, and bad things did happen. I think they built over 30 of these, 12 were lost to accidents, none were ever lost to enemy action. Yeah, this is just like the most amazing plane built ever. I mean, I'm just in awe to be this close to this machine. I love it.
And these are the air vents that I mentioned for letting air bleed out of the engine during certain speed regimes. And this is, of course, the back. Now, normally, of course, if this thing were in flight, it would have an afterburner flame that would go way out there. In fact, it might go all the way to over where that A10 is, but no, probably not. No, this plane is just amazing raw power. I remember hearing that at full thrust, these pair of engines would produce more thrust than the engines on an ocean liner. So just think about that. You could bolt one of these onto the back of like the QE2 and it would just steam along on its own. So to start those massive engines, they would have to wheel out this start cart, which would basically hook up to the engines and cycle them up to speed. Pilots would wear full pressure suits because they were flying at such an altitude that if they had to eject, well, not only did the suit keep them alive in that atmospheric pressure or low atmospheric pressure, it would also protect them from the buffeting because it would inflate during ejection. You can see one of those cones that I talked about. These cones would move in and out by a couple of feet to adjust airflow through into the engine. Okay, so this may look like a V1, but it is in fact a JB2. Now the JB2 was the American version of the V1. There was apparently a plan, and this is the first I've heard of it, to launch these against Japan during the later parts of World War II, but I guess they never got that plan off the ground. I really can't imagine how they would do that. Strap these things to like a bomber or something and then fly and launch them. I have no idea what crazy plans they were coming up with, but obviously the Manhattan Project ended up winning that particular battle. And of course, speaking of the Manhattan Project, they do in fact have a replica of the Trinity Device. And yeah, they also have, well, they advertise it as a Mark 6 atomic weapon. I don't know if there's a replica or if it's a defused real thing, but you can just get an idea of the size of these. There are other atomic munitions on display elsewhere, which are a whole lot more compact than these.
So this is actually a really cool thing. We've all flown flight simulators and video games, but this is a C-130 simulator, right? Now, obviously it's equipped with all the controls and everything that you would have in a real C-130. What's really interesting I want to point out is underneath here, you have all the mechanics for actuating everything. So they would have the feedback from the control surfaces so that the controls would work, so they could simulate the feelings that the pilots would have. And I wouldn't be surprised if this thing would also be lifted up in a bunch of gimbals and things as well. But, it's really cool to see underneath here with all the extra wiring and everything to support the simulator up top.
Going back to the 1930s, this is an Ant 13 trainer. Yeah, I really find it quite amusing that it is a training device. They decided to put wings on it, even although they probably didn't help very much. You know, you can see this one is actually actuated on a stand, so the pilots would get some idea of how their stick motions would translate into vehicle motions. Okay, so this here is a Martin Baker ejection seat. The Martin Baker is a British company, but they produce ejection seats that are used in all sorts of American planes. Apparently, the company that makes these in Britain, they claim that since they started building ejection seats, they've saved over almost 7,500 lives. These things, obviously, they have a rocket in the back that would push the thing out. The later models were self-guiding, so that if you were upside down, it would still right your ejection seat the right way up so that you didn't end up plummeting into the ground. But yeah, their goal was that you should be able to survive ejection at essentially 0 feet, 0 velocity. Amazing. Okay, this is something I totally not expected to see. This is an HH-43B Husky, and the reason I know that is because I just read it off of the board at the bottom there. But look, this is a helicopter, a rotorcraft with no tail rotor. It has 2 rotors on top, and they rotate in opposite directions, and they're geared in such a way that they will never hit each other. That's the theory, of course, you know. I'm sure accidents happen. Yeah, this was a rescue helicopter, and you come around the back here and you can see like there's an engine exhaust, but you know, there's no tail rotor on here. Look, they got a guy there in his a flame-proof suit or something. You probably have to be in a flame-proof suit if you're standing underneath that exhaust. Okay, so this is an inertial guidance unit from a Peacekeeper intercontinental ballistic missile. So, you know, if you've ever played, obviously you've played Kerbal Space Program, but very similar hardware was inside the Saturn V, you know, the lunar modules and everything like that, because they needed to be able to navigate in space. These are multi-axis gyroscopes, and this would basically hold its attitude while the spacecraft or the vehicle moved around it. So this allowed it to figure out where it was always, and therefore keep the missile on target for whatever the target was. Scorpion, F-89 Scorpion. Look at those weapons pods on the wingtips. They're bigger than some planes here. See that green one there? See next to the door at the back, there's like 4 white cylinders?
Yeah.
Do you know what those are? They're called JATOs. They're jet-assisted takeoff. They're basically little rockets to help that thing get airborne. Well, there's actual planes flying around because this is next to an Air Force base. So they're out practicing maneuvers and everything. This one here is B-1 Lancer. Yeah, they got a plane flying over there. Yeah, they'll do that one after the other. Yes. Do you know what that is?
Plane?
Yeah, it is a plane. It's called a B-52. And yeah, these things are big nuclear bombers. Look, they have 8 engines, 4 on each side.
They do.
They are huge. They would carry...
Birds up there.
The what?
There's birds up there.
Yes, those are the local residents here.
Yes.
I think this here is a refueling plane, incidentally. You can see the tailplane on it. But that has really become popular with the birds, unfortunately. And those over there, do you know what those are?
Rockets?
Yes.
Missiles?
Nuclear missiles.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that one has a ton of birds.
Yeah. So what's your favorite plane here?
The giant flying banana thing.
The giant flying banana thing. So Skye, you're standing in front of this one that you like. Why do you like this thing?
Because it looks like a banana.
Banana with rotor braids?
It looks like a banana.
That, yeah, I think it is nicknamed the Flying Banana.
It
It's an H-21 workhorse.
Hi, this is Skye from the Hill Aerospace Museum. Fly safe.